Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's CFMA Member Benefit Series on CCIFP certification. My name is Laura O'Connor, and I serve as CFMA's Director of Membership, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. Before I begin, I also want to recognize Lindsay Sullivan, our Member Experience Manager, who will be assisting with logistics questions and ensuring everything runs smoothly throughout the session. Whether you're early in your construction finance career or a seasoned professional looking to further distinguish yourself in the industry, today's session is designed to help you understand the value of earning the Certified Construction Industry Financial Professional, or CCIFP designation. The CCIFP is the only certification designed specifically for the construction financial professionals. It demonstrates a commitment to excellence, validates specialized industry knowledge, and helps professionals stand out as leaders within their organizations and throughout the construction industry. Today's session will provide an overview of the certification, eligibility requirements, exam structure, preparation resources, and upcoming opportunities to make this an excellent time to pursue your certification. I'm pleased to introduce our presenters. First, we have Dan Pickel, Director of Certification. Dan works closely with candidates, CCIFPs, and industry stakeholders to support the certification process and advance the CCIFP credential throughout the construction industry. And Bryan Eto, Chair of the Certification Board of Trustees. Bryan's a respected industry leader and CCIFP who's passionate about advancing the profession and helping the construction financial professionals achieve their career goals through certification. Together, Bryan and Dan bring extensive knowledge of the certification process, the value of CCIFP credential, and opportunities for candidate it creates for construction financial professionals seeking to distinguish themselves as leaders in the industry. So thank you both for being here. And Dan and Bryan, I'll turn it over to you to get us started.
All right, great. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, everyone that joined us today. Took a lot off my plate right there, Laura, so I really appreciate the introduction. So, yeah, today we're going to talk about the CCIP certification. We're going to go through some of the eligibility criteria and talk about how you can go through the application process and a few other things. We'll get into that. Let me go over to the screen. All right, so Laura already introduced us, so we can skip this slide, I think.
Please do.
So, yeah. All right, so in terms of learning objectives for today, at the end of the session, we hope you have a clear understanding of the value of the CCIP certification, whether it's the right next step for you, who's eligible, how the exam is structured, what resources we have to help you prepare. And we want to talk a little bit about why 2026 is a strong time to consider applying, how you can leverage the certification once you have it, and how to take those next steps. Let me jump to the next slide. So we're going to start out with a quick poll. Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind popping this up. So you could please select the option that best describes where you are in your CCIP journey, just so we get a sense of who's here so we can address some questions later on and know how to speak about the slides as we move forward. So if you see the poll, you could indicate which one best fits your spot in that career journey. Be great.
Looks like we got it. I'm going to end the poll here.
All right. I can't see any of the results, so
there you go. There you go. Looks like interested in taking the exam within the next 6 to 12 months is the highest, with 14 people answering that one.
All right. Great. Yeah. So it sounds like you're here to learn a little bit more before you decide to fill out the application. I think the perfect spot to be in and to receive the information we're going to be sharing today. So on this next slide, this next few slides, we're going to talk about the value of the CCIP. So Bryan, do you want to tell me a little bit about the value of the CCIP and speak to the content on the slide?
Yeah. So again, what makes this credential different from a lot of others? It was developed by the construction professionals, right? A lot of the other credentials, including the CPA, which I am, is created by academia in theory. The CCIFP is created by our own professionals, in which it was created to show what's important. It's created to distinguish us from a lot of the other credentials that are out there, because it's particular to our industry. It says we're
Right,
equity.
right.
Did you see that? I don't know, Laura. I don't know if we can do something about that in the chat.
I'm not hearing an echo. Is it anyone else hearing it?
Not now.
Okay.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, apologies for that.
Yeah, I think when I think about the CCIP, my mind first goes to the fact that we use subject matter experts on all of our subcommittees and on our board.
Yep.
It's those subject matter experts that really define what makes up the CCIP. So they go through this rigorous process called the job task analysis. They look at all the knowledge, the skills, and the tasks that someone would perform as a construction finance professional. So that becomes the baseline or the blueprint for the CCIP exam. So there's a lot that goes into that, and we take into account responses from surveys so that we're building this exam out so that it really mirrors what's going on in the industry.
Yeah.
And
It really gives us, sorry, Dan.
Yeah.
It really
No,
gives
no,
us, that independent validation of what your expertise is in the construction finance area. Again, CPAs like myself, we have a very vast knowledge. It's very large. This will show construction specific, excuse my language, that again, it shows what you're concentrated in and where your expertise really is in the construction industry.
Yep. And CCIP is one of the very few accredited certifications in the finance industry in general, but also the only one in the construction finance industry. So there are about 200 certifications that are ANAB accredited. I think there's about 80 organizations that have accredited programs, and we're the only one in construction finance, and just a handful again in the finance industry at all. So it's a rigorous process to go through the accreditation process. It's one we take really seriously, so that we show that we're following best practices when it comes to certification development. Jump to this next slide. All right, Bryan, I think you spoke to a little bit. What, in your mind, what makes the CCIP certification different? I know you talked a little bit
Again,
about
what makes it different from the others is the knowledge base that you have to have in the construction industry compared to the other certifications. For the CCIFP, you have to know your contract schedules. You have to understand how the WIP is done, work in process, progress, whichever one you want to call it. Contracts in progress too. You have to understand how they work. CPAs, unless you're in the construction industry specifically, you're not taught that. CMAs, you're not taught that. You don't have to necessarily know that to become certified. Here you do. And it shows that you're committed to the industry and what you're learning. You have to know revenue recognition, right? Construction risk. As a CPA, I don't have to know that. Surety and bonding. Cost management on jobs, which is huge. Because, again, the job cost analysis and stuff like that, you don't have to know in a lot of other industries, retail, stuff like that. So it really gets us down to very specific areas within our construction industry that shows all of our expertise and all of our knowledge. And it gives you that credibility within the industry. And for those who are looking at your organization and is looking at what you produce compared to not having it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great job, Ryan. Thanks for pointing out what differentiates it from other programs. If we look at who becomes a CCIP and also who currently is a CCIP, you'll see that it says CFOs, you'll see controllers, finance directors. I recently did analysis of our certification management software platform, sort of understand right now who is currently CCIP certified. There are about 1,400 folks that are currently CCIPs. Of the 1,400, a little under 500 are in the C-suite. So that's VPs and CFOs. We have between 250 and 300 who are owners or partners. There's just about 200 who are controllers, more than 200 are managers. So I think what that says to me is, oh, sorry, jumped a couple slides ahead. There we go. So, so what that says to me is that, these in terms of the career journey that they're on, people come in at, two different points, but they really find value and are able to leverage the CCIP in order to progress on their career journey. And it also says that there's a broad mix of roles that help make the certification as valuable as it is. So it creates this shared standard of knowledge for professionals who support the financial success of construction organizations. I don't know, Brett, what do you think about the roles that become CCIP certified?
I mean, it it's really for anyone who's within the financial realm of the construction company or construction industry, right? CFOs, they need to have it, or they should have it. Again, it just lends their credibility on who they are, and that's for all of them. Public accountants like myself, if I'm coming to your construction company and I want to bid on all your work, your audit, are you going to look at me a little different if I'm a CCIP versus the one who's not, right? So, I mean, again, it shows your commitment to the industry, and who should be at it. Surety professionals, same way. Bankers, same way. It shows their commitment to your industry. It shows what they know within your industry, and they're committed to you.
Oh, great. So we'll jump to the next slide, which is why the CCIP matters. I think, Bryan, you mentioned this quite a few times, but it's validating their knowledge. It's strengthening the credibility. It's about signaling to the market the knowledge, the skills, and the background that you have related to construction finance. So that when you're looking for another job, or you're bidding on a job, or you're speaking to the banks, you're able to say, hey, I'm really ingrained in the construction finance industry. I've taken this really rigorous certification exam that shows not only do you have the requisite knowledge and skills to become certified, but also you maintain it over time through your CPE, so that you're continuing to learn and understand what's going on in the construction finance industry. Do you think I missed anything there, Bryan?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And again, the way outside, if you're a CCIP internally for a construction company, the way your outside professionals look at you is different. A surety will look at you differently. They look at your statements differently. The banks may look at your statements differently. Myself, as a certified public accountant, when I'm coming in to do your review, or I'm coming in to do an audit, as a CCIFP, I may assess my risk differently, because I would expect with all the CPE and everything, revenue recognition, the WIP, everything like that I may be able to give you a little bit more credit for than I would someone who doesn't have it, if that makes sense. So again, it lessens my risk when performing an audit or a review, which then could mean that I do less testing.
Yeah, that's a great point. Fantastic point. We'll just put up some of the testimonials that we have related to the value of the certification. And I think we hear this a lot from individuals who are CCIP certified. Some talk about, again, the credibility. Some talk about the recognition from banks, sureties. Others talk about the way that it's impacted their career progression. I think the common theme that I hear is that CCIP isn't just the letters after a person's name. It's that signal that communicates someone's expertise, their commitment, and their credibility. Let's jump to this next slide. All right, so we got ourselves another poll question. Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind bringing that up, and keep in mind that I don't get to see the poll or the answer, so if you could help us out there.
All right, please rank around the value.
All right, so
I just put it up there. So
all right, thank you. Yeah, if you could just rate the value of the CCIP in the areas listed, so strengthening credibility, validating expertise in the industry, so you can understand what it is that matters to individuals who are on the call. There's no wrong answer. We just want to understand where you're coming from and what benefits resonate most with today's audience.
So it takes them a little bit longer to answer because you got to rank them. It's not just
Gotcha.
one click and then you're done. But yeah, they're coming in.
Nice.
Great, looks good. I'm gonna give it another 5 seconds for all of you. 5, 4, 3, 2, and I'm gonna end the poll. Okay,
Thank
let me
you.
share the results with you guys. So
All right, what
yeah,
are we looking at?
looks like everyone finds, so most people find all of these items valuable. The thing that they found the most value in was, it looks like a tie between validate your expertise and increase your overall value. And the thing they found the least valuable was growing your network.
Okay,
But even that was very, very low.
that makes sense. I think anytime I think about getting a certification myself, I think about how is this going to impact my career? How would I potentially leverage it? What value do I get from this? And then also for an organization I'm in, does this potentially add some value to that as well? So I think that makes sense. All right, we'll jump into some CCIP exam details. I'm going to start with the 3 different pathways. Now, technically there are 4, but I'm walking through the major 3, and then I'll touch on the 4th one. So the first one, it's used by about 87% of candidates, is the bachelor's degree. So that means you have a bachelor's degree, you have at least 12 credits related to business courses, and also you have 4,000 hours of industry experience. Anytime you think about certification, if it's a professional one, it sort of is like a 3-legged stool on what I like to call the 3 E's. So there's experience, there's education, and then there's exam. So in order to meet the criteria to take the exam, you need to have the requisite education and experience. The second pathway here is the associate pathway. So we have an associate degree and a total of 8,000 hours. Now we looked at 4,000 hours. If you're working 40 hours a week, it's a little less than 2 years for 4,000 hours. So it's a little less than 4 for 8,000. And then we look at the third pathway for the high school diploma or GED equivalent. You have to have your GED or your high school diploma and 12,000 hours of experience in the construction finance industry. I think what's important to know is that there's a little note at the bottom. Experience is a position that has to meaningfully connect with the construction finance profession, not billable hours. So I know in the past there were questions about what do the 4,000 hours mean? A lot of CPAs were thinking it's got to be billable hours, but if you're working in a role that meaningfully connects to the construction finance industry, you can count the hours you're working in your day job. Like I manage a certification program. I'm not developing a certification all the time, right? I'm applying emails. I'm in meetings that relate to certification sometimes, usually, but not always. I would count all that for a certification related to developing certifications, just like with regards to the CCIP, that those hours will all count toward meeting that requirement.
Agree. And that includes education, Dan, right? CPE and stuff like that, that you would go towards the construction industry.
That's right.
Like going to the CFMA National Conference and stuff like that. Those hours would count towards that. And what's this? I've had people ask me, well, GED or high school diploma, where we see a lot of that, or where I see a lot of that coming through is family owned, where you have someone that is working their way up from the bottom, a son or whatever, and they're working their way up through the organization. And in the end, after 10 years, land at the CFO position or something like that. It's a lot more common than what we see, especially in tight family businesses.
Yeah, it's a great point. And the final pathway, I just want to touch on briefly. It's so you can choose to take exam only without meeting the other requirements. If you pass the exam, then you have 5 years to meet the education and experience requirements. So you can't just challenge the exam, and if you're successful, then prove later on that you meet those requirements. So it's a rare thing for certifications to offer. So it's kind of a unique thing for CCIP to offer, but it is an option. It's rarely used, but it is available if you're someone that thinks you could challenge, potentially pass the exam. You might want to try that, even if you don't meet the eligibility or the educational requirements right off the bat.
I do have a question in the Q&A section from someone. They're asking, how are hours tracked and documented to satisfy this experience requirement?
So within the application, and we'll show some screenshots later on. You'll indicate the roles that you've worked in, the time when you started, and if you still work there, that'll be sort of the end date for you. And then it will track based on the average number of hours you give us. So if you work somewhere for 5 years and you averaged 40 hours a week working in that role, it will give us a total number of hours that would relate to your eligibility. Now, there's an opportunity to include any documentation. You don't need to. We have an audit process, so a certain percentage of applications, when they're submitted, will be randomly selected for audit, and then we send out a document for someone to fill out a validation of employment and education. So then they would send over a signed document and also whatever other educational verification they need to move forward the process. So for some people, they can just add those hours and it'll go right through. And for others, they'll be audited and they'll have to submit that information. It's a relatively easy process, especially for the first option, right? All right, so jumping into some exam details. So I just want to give you an idea of what to expect when you get into the testing environment. So it's 200 multiple choice questions over 4.5 hours. It's a computer-based exam, and so you can take it in person or you can take it over the computer wherever you are. There's scaled scoring, which means that the difficulty of the exam matters. It's not just the 70% pass. That's what you need. Our subject matter experts look at each of the questions on the exam and they determine what exactly that pass point is or should be. And depending on whether it's a really difficult exam, the percentage you would need to get right would be lower. If it's a particularly easy exam, you would need a higher or even more correct answers to pass the exam. So scaled scoring. And then at the end of it, you immediately know whether you passed or failed. If you did fail, we'll send over a detailed exam diagnostic, letting you know how you performed in each of the domains on the exam so you can study better in the future to retake the exam. Bryan, did I miss anything here?
No, sounds good.
All right, perfect. All right, so here are the exam content domains. You'll notice that there's accounting and reporting, revenue recognition methods. There's 8 different domains for the exam. When you look at accounting and reporting and then revenue recognition, that combined is 44% of the exam. So when studying, that's definitely something to keep in mind. Right? Let's see. So this came directly out of that job task analysis that was performed by our subject matter experts. And again, that's something that really forms the basis for our certification exam. Bryan, do you have anything you want to share related to the
No, I mean, and we'll probably get to this a little bit later. I jump around, Dan. You got to be me.
I know. That's why I'm excited to have you.
One of the other sessions I was asked, about how long to study and what part should they study for. And again, it depends on you, where you are with your career. For me, when I took it as a CPA, part of my everyday job is accounting and reporting and revenue rec models. So I didn't concentrate on that, even though that was the two largest parts of the exam. That was not my concentration point. My concentration point was legal, HR, and risk management, because I don't deal with that every day. So you kind of look at where you are in your career and what you know and concentrate on the others.
That's a great point. We'll jump to this next slide. So talking about the exam format, fees and testing options. So for an initial applicant, you're looking at a $250 application fee, exam fee of $600 for a total of $850. If you're retaking it because you were unsuccessful your first or second attempt, it's significantly less, so it's $300 total. In terms of the different administration options, we have Pearson VUE as one of our testing sites. So there are hundreds of those around the U.S. Or if depending where you're located, you could choose to take one relatively close. But we also realize that there are potentially some barriers to people traveling to different testing sites, and that's why we also offer the live remote proctoring option. So that's available online. It's a sort of a different process, but you'll be doing it on your laptop. There's a proctor who's watching through the webcam. They're also capturing what's going on your screen, and you can take it basically anywhere where there's a stable internet connection and it's clean and it's just you in the room. So that's a nice option for anyone that doesn't want to travel to a site, maybe have kids at home or can't get time off from work. So it's a good one to use. And then also the third option is taking an exam at one of our regional conferences. We got a few coming up. Lone Star, Pacific Northwest, Florida Regional are all offering the exam as well. So if you're in that area thinking about going to those regional conferences, might be a good option to take it with some other people that are also studying. So that is again that third option to take the exam.
One last thing on that, just real quick. If you take the exam during CCIFP month and you don't pass, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a free retake within 90 days, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I think that's really high level. I think I have it on a slide, but yeah, we'll there's definitely a benefit of doing it during the month of August. In terms of preparing the exam, so we have some recommended options. I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to go a little bit faster. But really, and Bryan mentioned it, looking at the sections of the exam, we might be a little bit weaker. Creating a study guide to understand like what's on the exam, have a plan for what you want to go through, and yeah, just take a look at. Let me show the next slide. So some study resources. So CFMA offers several different study resources. There's the study guide that includes some flashcards, some practice questions. The practice questions aren't as difficult as the exam questions, so don't be fooled. If you do well in the practice exam, it may not be a true indicator of how you'll do on the exam. Then there's the live online CCIP overview course that's actually starting next week. It's about 8 hours for that course, and you can log in, ask questions. There's the live person who's delivering the content. There's the on-demand course, so same stuff, but you just can get in there whenever you have the time. We have exam prep courses. Those are a much more robust option. So versus the 8 hours for the CCIP overview course, I think it's somewhere around 40 hours total, and you can choose which of the content domains you want to focus on more. And then finally, there's the book. The book is pretty massive. It's focused on people that just bought and read the book as a way to prepare for the exam. I think that's a little less common, but people are using the book as a way to prepare for the exam because it does make up the body of knowledge for that exam. All right, let me jump. All right, test tips. So just something to keep in mind, we're not looking to confuse you. We're not looking to trick you. The exam questions are straightforward. So read through it. It's not an English test. We're trying to test your competence in that role. Don't spend too much time on any one particular question. Talk to people that spend 20 minutes on the same one. It's a terrible strategy for taking an exam. And then I'd say if you read through it, spend a minute on it, you're not sure what the answer is, flag the question, come back to it later. I think that's a good strategy as you're going through it, because something else in the exam may later on spur you to remember what that question, what the answer might be there. All right. Leveraging CCIP certifications. Sorry, I am going to go fast. Bryan, if you want to jump in at all, feel free to.
I get it. I talk
in
too much.
terms
Go ahead.
of how to leverage it. Me too. So we're problematic here. So it's a strong indicator of a candidate's future performance. You can see that in terms of the number and percentage of people that are CCIP certified. Makes hiring decisions easier for someone who is looking at some candidates. See the CCIP certification. It just makes it a little bit easier. It's a way to support employee growth and development. In terms of how to leverage it, so it's not a magic wand. You're going to want to use it. I've talked to people that are like, "Oh, I got certified. It didn't impact my career at all." What'd you do? Nothing. Okay. Well, add it to your signature. Put it on LinkedIn. make sure that if you see an opportunity, and especially through CFMA, take it, right? We're always looking for individuals who may want to contribute content, write some, potential, there are opportunities to write for building profits. Take it. It's a way to get your name out there and make your CCIP, add value to your career. Why is it important now? Well, Bryan mentioned it. August CCIP month. So if you pay for the exam, if you're unsuccessful, you get a free retake. So $300 off that. If you're worried about potentially failing, it's a great time to do it. Also, we're working on updating that job task analysis. There will likely be some changes. I don't know how significant they are. We're starting to have those conversations with our subject matter experts now. What that means is what we're testing on the exam will likely change. So if you're familiar with what's on the exam now, you're comfortable-ish with what's on there, I'd say take it before the exam changes. And again, it likely will with that job task analysis change. And then we recently launched our digital badges through Credly. So we have the opportunity to share it a little bit easier on LinkedIn, add that to your email signature. It'll link to your digital badge backpack, so it'll let people know what the CCIP is. And it's a little more of a visible thing. All right, Bryan, I miss anything there? You want to jump in? All
Nope,
right.
doing well.
Still moving then. Okay, so what should you do after today? Well, take a look what's on the exam. It looked like a lot of you were in that early stages of taking the exam. So see what's on the exam content. Start studying for what's on there. Review the eligibility criteria, explore study resources, and then again, consider applying for it in August. You'll have 90 days to take the exam. Again, if you're unsuccessful, you get a free retake. So I think that adds a lot of value. And some breaks down some of those barriers in terms of like mentally, taking the exam. How to apply? You want to go to cfma.org. Once you're in there, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll sort of go to the top of the screen. There's an option for CCIP exams. You hover over there, get a little drop down for exam application. Click on that. Next screen, you're going to create a new exam application. This is what it looks like on the left-hand side. So you'll choose your eligibility pathway. You're going to include some additional information, put in your education, your experience. If you need exam accommodations, we're happy to accommodate you the best we can. So if you need more time or other resources, that's where you want to indicate it. And then at the end, you'll submit it. Again, if it's August, you get that free retake. We talked a little about the experience hours, so I think I could skip over that. And then we're 4 minutes over, but are there any other questions?
We do have a couple questions. Someone asked what the pass-fail rate is typically.
So it's right around 60% right now.
Okay.
So it's not incredibly high. It's not super low. I've had programs that had a pass rate of much higher. I've had programs that had a pass rate of much lower. I think those are all things that are considered as we're going through the standard setting process and determining what that cut score or that passing point is for the exam. So 60% is right within that industry best practice for certification.
Also got a couple questions about the book. Someone asked, what's the oldest version of the book that we could read for the exam? And then also, when was the last time the exam was updated based on new info from the book?
For sure. So the exam was updated about 5 years ago with the information from the book. The exam blueprint was changed about 5 years ago. The most recent form of the exam, so those are the questions on it, was updated about a year ago. The same subject matter experts are working on an updated form as well, and that will launch before we have the new job task analysis and the new exam blueprint. As far as how far back you could go in terms of using the book, I think probably there's been sort of piecemeal work on updating each of the sections over the past. It continues to happen. I'd say 3 or 4 years might be the furthest you want to go back. There have been changes to some of the tax stuff, to HR. people tend to not do so well in the HR section of the exam. So something to consider as you're studying. It doesn't make up a big portion of the exam content, but it's also one that people miss pretty easy questions on there. So I think it's important to, if you can get the newest version, do that. And I don't know that if you go through LexisNexis, who's our partner in terms of the book, and technically they own it. So we don't have any control over the price that they charge. Uh, but I don't know that you can purchase an older form. If you have access to one though, that's you bought previously or someone else did, I'd say, yeah, again, 3 or 4 years is as far back as I'd say, you could use for the exam to study.
I have one more written question. Someone asked, when will the exam change?
So the job task analysis being updated right now, we're probably looking at about a year from now.
I have,
and we'll also send out messages letting people know it's changing. If you're more comfortable taking the older version, take it now. If you want to take the newer version, happy to support that. But we'll be really transparent about when that change happens, so people can make decisions before it updates.
So we do need to wrap up, but there's another question in the chat, and someone has their hand raised. So if you want to take those final two.
Sure.
Yeah, Madison, I see you have your hand raised. I'm going to allow you to talk. So go ahead and ask your question. You are on mute, though.
I'm sorry if I accidentally raised my hand.
Oh, okay. No worries. I'll take you off of there. Okay, then we will go over to the other question here. Adriana is asking, do you know where she can rent the book, and also how long she has how long I have after I register to take the test?
Okay. I'm familiar with LexisNexis. They allow you to purchase it. I'm not certain about renting. I haven't seen that option, and I don't think it exists with LexisNexis. If you know someone that has it, I'd recommend getting your hands on it that way. Oh, Brian, do you know anything about renting the book?
I've never heard of it being rented.
No. So if there are other people that are studying, I know you can go on Connection Cafe through CFMA, putting out the word that you're looking for the book. If someone has it, I think that might be an option in order to find out a lower cost, alternative to purchasing the book. Maybe you could just have someone loan it to you. In terms of paying for the exam, and then what's that window look like? So it's a 90-day scheduling window. So if you pay in August, you have 90 days to take the exam. You can pay for an extension if you need to. If you're doing it in August, though, I'd say study as much as you can in those 90 days. Take the exam during it. If you're not successful, you'll get back that exam diagnostic report. Look to see how you performed. Study some more, and then retake it for free.
All right. I want to thank everybody for hanging in there with us. A special thanks to Dan and Brian for sharing their time, expertise, and insight. And again, thank you all for joining us today. And we hope you found the session informative and it helped you better understand how the CCIFP can support your professional growth and career development. If you want to revisit this information or share it with colleagues, we did record the session and we will provide the slides. We just need a few days to get the recording set up. So we'll be emailing that out to everyone. So thank you again for joining us. And I encourage you to take the next steps towards earning your CCIFP designation. Thank you and have a wonderful afternoon, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining, Brian.
Thank you.